Oh dear, I can't keep a straight face. The PA system is working okay. So there's a few more people to come in, so let's wait for them. Adela is still going to do the photo shoot.
Do you want it?
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
I shaved my hair today for that. You don't want me to go back to my room and put it all back on again. Yeah, sure. It's always a good idea to do the photo shoot at a retreat, never on the last day. And the reason is because I saw all these photos of people on a retreat with really tough retreats, and they're all smiling. And of course they're smiling, they can go home tomorrow. So I like to do it in the middle of the retreat. That's the best time. That's the most truthful time. If you do it on the first day of the retreat, then they're all really anxious, so they really can't smile. They don't know what's going to happen. But hopefully if you come to a retreat like this, you know that it should really be happy retreats, and it's nice to see many of you smiling, even though you've been listening to some very deep Dhamma, which is wonderful. But anyway, I think that's all about the crew now. So let's begin. And for the Dhamma talk this morning, I did want to talk more about the meditation, because I haven't talked much about meditation at all yet. It's supposed to be a meditation retreat. So let's get started. Sometimes there's many types of meditation, many forms of meditation which you may have experienced or seen or read about. But one of the best descriptions of meditation which I ever saw, and it stayed with me for a very long time, it came from that story of the Emperor's 3 questions. And I want this to be the beginning of this talk, because then you'll kind of remember it, and other types of meditation can actually get understood by this first type of meditation. And the Emperor's 3 questions, as many of you know, I think I mentioned it before, it's such a profound teaching, I can't really avoid it. And it's not from the Buddha, it could have been, but this one was from Leo Tolstoy. And an emperor got fed up with organized religion, always arguing with one another, who's the best, who's the most enlightened. And so one day he decided to make up his own religion. And he thought for a long time, discussed with some of his friends, and he decided all you really need is the answers to 3 important questions. And the first question was, when is the most important time? And don't say breakfast or lunch. When is the most important time? The answer was now. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, not next moment, but right now. Who is the most important person? You've all heard this story before, haven't you? So who's the most important person? It's not sort of a God, it's not a Buddha, it's not the person who runs the retreat, because they can kick you out any moment, so you have to be very kind to them. The most important person is always a person right in front of you. Right now, whoever that happens to be. And that was just a beautiful piece of advice I got when I was only a student. And I remember after reading that advice, I put the book down. I thought, wow. And I just left my room and just went walking around the streets of Cambridge. The most important person is the one right in front of you. And that just was so meaningful for me. I don't know if you ever sort of have been with somebody important, and you want to speak to them, and they pay you no attention, you know they're trying to get rid of you. It feels really yucky, that. Sometimes I had an important question on science, and after the lecture I went up to the lecturer who was important, and I wanted to ask a question. He said, oh yeah, well I talked about it earlier. Goodbye. They just want to get rid of you. To them I wasn't important. And That was just as a student. What about when you get married? And then is it sometimes your partner in life, you talk to them, hello darling, and they say, I'll talk to you later. The message you get from that is you're not important. That's a person you've committed to. It really is nasty. And so the one you are with has to always be the most important. Now's the most important time. The most important thing to do is to care. And I love that one too, because how many doctors are there here? Come on, admit it. Okay, good, very good. How many lawyers? That's even harder to admit. But we have to have lawyers, we have to have doctors. How many policemen? How many Secret Service? It's a job, it has to be done. So, whoever you are, it's wonderful that, if you can talk to people and people can talk to you. That, you just ask them a question and they ask you honestly and they care. Imagine if that was the case. And that's especially with doctors. I always tell the doctors, nurses, therapists, psychiatrists, your most important job is to care, not to cure. That's a big mistake people make. So in a hospital, if you go trying to cure people all the time, it's such a harsh regime, and that the people don't cure at all. And the doctors and the nurses, they do get discouraged, and they think, well, what am I doing this for? It kind of doesn't work. People die. All doctors can be considered failures. People all die in the end. You just give them a temporary cure for a year or two, or 10 years, or 20 years. We're all going to die. Even Ajahn Brahm, he's got a terminal disease. You know that terminal disease? I didn't actually tell you, did I? I've got a terminal disease. There's no cure for it. It's called life. L-I-F-E, life. And you all got that too now, haven't you? I can always see you're going to die because you're alive. So anyway, so instead of making curing the most important, it's caring. And a lot of times that health professionals forget that. Your main purpose, if you go and see a grandma who's really sick, and see a child who's really sick and injured, not to cure them, care for them first. And if you care for them, many more kids and many more old people get cured. Caring is most important. And even if they do pass away, at least they know they've been cared for. What a beautiful gift at the end of the life that is. So anyway, those are the three most important things to do. Now is the only time. The person right in front of you is the most important, and the only thing to do is to care. And of course, the one in front of you, the most important. You're not always in front of people. Even myself, I just go into my room, have a shower, have a shave, do a little bit of meditation. I spend so much time, but the only person in front of me is me. Right now. So what do? How do I spend such time? Care for myself. Relax to the max. So that becomes like an essence of meditation. Don't think about the future or the past. Now's the only time I ever have. In my whole life, that's all the time I've had. Just what's happening now. But a lot of times I haven't given it importance. I've always given importance to what I've got to do later on. Such as, what am I going to talk about today? And I've given that up a long time ago. So you just see what comes out of your mouth. I don't know why they say wing it. That's an English term. But without any preparation, you just give a talk and see what happens. And I give importance to you. And then I care for you. I hope you understand that. I'm not trying to impress anybody. My goodness, actually sometimes I feel I should care for myself and not impress people. So if no one likes my talks, then I can spend more time by myself in my cave. I hardly ever go to my cave these days. You do, but not me. So that becomes how I turn that into a meditation. When I sit down, or walk meditation, or even just walking from here to the dharana sala, that now is the only time I ever have. I don't know how many more years I've got to live, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that I'm here. And you know, that's one of the reasons why I never get that restless. So always remember to come back here. And even if I'm walking, even if sometimes you do have to walk fast if you're waiting for a plane, especially the Indonesians. I don't mind saying this, but you are the top photographers of Ajahn Brahm. Every time I see you, I don't sort of run away. I expect, okay, photo. That's what happened to me once in Changi Airport. Changi Airport, I was just changing flights, I forget where I was going to or coming from. And then these about 40 or 50 Indonesian Buddhists came up and said, "Are you Ajahn Brahm?" And I couldn't think fast enough or run away fast enough. Okay, you've got me. Can we have a photo? And they'd just been on pilgrimage to India. So they're just, I think, come back from India and then transiting in Changi Airport. So, okay, they took a photograph. The whole group, first of all, and then like couples, and then individuals, and then groups. We're from Medan, and then we're from Pekanbaru. And then there's their friends, and then, my goodness, it took about an hour with all the different combinations. And I did tell them, look, I've got a plane to catch. Oh, okay, you'll be fine, you've got good karma, you'll make it. Yeah, thank you, not reassuring. But they were important. Because, they wanted to have a nice photo session, so why not? So I gave them all the photos they wanted. And then afterwards, I did have to exercise my legs and walk really fast. And sure enough, when I got to the gate, there's Mr. Brahma Wangso, please get to the gate soon. The plane's going to take off in a moment. I was the last one on board and only just made it. It was worth it though, a nice story. And that was always been just how I live. Now's the most important time. The most important thing to do is to be kind. And the people or the person in front of you is the most important in the whole world. And I love that. And so when you do, and I do meet some, what other people say are important people. Like, who's the most important person I've met? Actually, it was you. You know why? Because he's right in front of me. Other people are supposed to be important. But anyway, so this is what you do with your meditation as well. When I meditate, now is the most important time. I don't make plans. Okay, this time I'm going to really watch my breath. And this meditation, I'm going to sit still. And this meditation, I'm going to sit for an hour. So I brought my clock. Okay, 1 hour. I don't do that. I only did this because I wanted to make sure it's in sync with that one. But I don't watch the clock when I'm meditating. And it's a beautiful thing to do, not to watch the clocks. And straight away, there are some times when it gets to 30 minutes, and it's somehow or other it's not gelling. So let's get up and do some walking meditation. Or maybe I have a look at my body and it says, I need to go to the toilet, says my body to me. So I take the body to the toilet, and then I come back and sit, and it's nice and easy. I'm kind to my body. I'm not a control freak. So that's why you don't worry about time. You'll have enough time later on. So when you don't worry about time, now's the most important person. And whatever's right in front of me. What do you meditate on? What's your meditation object? How many watch the breath? How many do vipassana? How many people do loving kindness meditation? How many people do kasinas? How many people do something else? To me, the most important thing is what's happening right now. And I trust that. So sometimes I sit down, close my eyes, and then a lot of the time my body is the most important, because it's right there, right in front of me, and it's happening. So, if I'm not sitting down properly, and I haven't paid any attention to my body, you can feel this is going to hurt. You're not really sort of in a good position. So a lot of times, it's natural even, I can feel my body, I can feel my left toe at the moment is now squashed under my thigh, or under my calves of my right foot. So I want to always make sure, out of kindness, pay attention to it and relax it. And you know that sometimes you get into these really comfortable positions in my body. That's how you always start, that's the preparation. That's the most important time. The thing in front of me, the person, the being in front of me, my body, and I'm caring for it. And caring is not just, okay, let's get some more cushions and let's get a nice pillow and I'm really caring for you now, this is even more comfortable. That's actually not comfortable. It's more comfortable if you can be awake, aware. For me, even sometimes wearing but putting a cushion under my bottom doesn't really help. Sometimes, because I started my meditation just without any cushions, I always thought that was really unfair when I was young. When I was young, I was really thin. Honestly, there's pictures of me, you can see them somewhere. Even so much, this is my 5th year as a monk. After 5 years as a monk, I went traveling to, let's call it Tudong. And I went to Ajahn Mahabua's monastery. It was the strictest monastery in the whole of the northeast. Many people were afraid of Ajahn Mahabua. And he had this rule. There's only one meal a day. Everything, eaten from your bowl. And I was warned that when Ajahn Mahabua, if he hasn't started eating yet, you can't eat at all. You have to sit there, spoon at the ready, waiting for him to begin. There's a weird scene in his monastery. You looked up the line, about a dozen monks, and they all had the spoons in their hand waiting. And once he started eating, then everybody ate. And they ate really fast. I sometimes wondered, some monks were not just right-handed, but ambidextrous. Why they didn't have 2 spoons? They go. And the reason why they had to eat fast is because once Ajahn Mahabua had finished eating, once he put his spoon down, then everybody had to stop. You weren't allowed to eat after he'd finished. So they warned me, said, look, be fast, because he doesn't eat much. If you want to eat, you have to eat at least as fast as him, even more so. And then he ate, he finished. And then he stopped. And everybody else stopped. And as they all got up, and me as well, to go and wash the bowl, Ajahn Mahabua looked at me. It's a true story. Looked at me and said, you, sit down, carry on eating. And the others hadn't seen that before. He ordered me to carry on eating. And I obeyed that order. I was hungry. But he also saw I was thin. And so out of kindness he wanted to make sure I ate some more. So all the other monks were out washing their bowls and I was carrying on eating. Very fortunate monk I was. But that was how thin I was. And I made up for it later on in my life. Now, how did I get onto this? Okay, yeah. Anyway, so always have to be kind. And that's the most important time. The thing right in front of me, which was my spoon, was the most important thing in the world. And I was being kind and caring. And I kind of like that out of, real forest monks. They may have a reputation of being tough, but underneath all of that, it was just really kindness. And that's why I really enjoyed, once you get to know them, once you actually get to understand them, they'll do anything for you, no matter how senior they were and how junior you were. So anyway, so that becomes the meditation. That's the most important time. Thing in front of you, when I close my eyes, my body, I feel it. And I don't figure it out. I'm not a doctor. I'm not sure about anatomy. I remember I learned it at school in biology class, but that's about all. And the most important thing to do is the kindness. So I feel my body. And that's one of the reasons, honestly, I think I know enough about medicine to be really surprised at just how healthy you can be. Healthy you can be simply because you know your body and you can learn how to relax it. Somebody mentioned this to me in one of the interviews. I didn't have a chance to emphasize how important that was. And sometimes after nice meditation, you can look at your body, say your knees, and then it's aching. And I just zap it, and it goes away. It's nice and at ease again. It's kind of weird, but I'm being honest with you. Your mind has got more power than you ever imagine it has. And it can just take that pain totally away. One of the first times I did that, I wrote about it. Many of you have heard that story about just a simple thing like a toothache. First year as a monk in the forest. Bad toothache, no way you could go to sleep, and no way you could even meditate. I was taught to watch the breath when I started meditation. So I sat down, closed my eyes, watched the breath, and ow! Ooh, ah. You couldn't stay with the breath, the pain was too much. And so I tried walking meditation. And I found a deep insight that when you're in pain doing walking meditation, you tend to walk fast. Because you're desperate. And then so I thought chanting. There's many chants which are powerful. But then I found I was shouting out the chants because I was hurting so much. It was not like yo-so, yo-so, really loud. And I thought, this is the middle of the night, I'm going to wake everybody up. So I stopped chanting. And eventually I went to the medicine cabinet. I had a medicine cabinet in that monastery. And then I opened the door of the medicine cabinet. It was totally empty. We really were a poor monastery in those early days. There was nothing there at all. And that's not very helpful. So then, you get to this wonderful place where insight often comes. I love this place. I don't want people to get there, but it's a wonderful place. And the place was where I couldn't stand it any longer. Couldn't go forward, couldn't go back, couldn't stand still. That's how Ajahn Chah put it. I tried everything, and the pain was intolerable. So then what do you do? I'd heard many, many, many times, let go. Have you heard those two words before? Let go. It's only when your back is against the wall, as they say, when you're desperate, that's the only thing you remember to do. And I must say that was the first time in my life I did that. I let go. And the result, I'm being totally honest, and people don't believe me, but look, I keep my precepts. And I wouldn't sort of elaborate. I said let go. And I don't think I even said it, just thought it. The words came up in my mind. And then immediately the pain disappeared. It's weird. You're just hurting so much, and then let go. There's no pain at all. Instead there was this wonderful bliss. It was just the opposite of pain. It was so enjoyable. And so it was about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was walking outside, so I carried on walking for a bit. And then I thought I should go to bed, get a couple of hours sleep, because the bell goes at 3. So I went up to my hut and I lay down and fell asleep for an hour and a half. And I remember then I fell asleep very easily, no pain. When I woke up, I had a toothache, but a small one. The first time I ever did letting go, and how powerful that can be. You can do it. Just remember the words. When you've got no choice, it's that or just go crazy. Of course you do it. And you'll be surprised at how powerful that is and what you can do. What you can do. And so, when those kind of things happen, you learn what's possible. When you learn what's possible, everything else, like the doors were all open. So if you want to get some deep meditation, you just sit there. Now's the most important time. What you're experiencing right now, good or bad, painful or pleasant, is the most important thing in the whole world. And you're just kind. Kind is another way of saying, let it be. You're not trying to get rid of things. Remember that story I've already told about the anger-eating monster? Is that kindness or is that letting be? It's both. That's why it's a good metaphor for letting go or letting things be. That monster looks really unhealthy to have in your house. That monster looks so violent and aggressive, very dangerous. So shouldn't you get it out? No, let it be. And your monster becomes your friend. You're so kind to it. You're letting it be. You're not trying to get rid of it. And then the weird thing happens. You think that I'm going to be in trouble for this. I should do something. No, don't do anything. Be kind. Let it be. Get smaller and smaller and smaller, less and less dangerous, until it gets so small it vanishes completely away by itself. That's its nature. Have any of you doctors or friends seen that happen with cancers? People just have all this, they call it care. Is it care? You're just trying to cure it at all costs. Trying to get rid of it. Sort of do surgery and cut it out. Or zap it with radiation therapy. Or chemotherapy, poison it to death. What, does that work? Sometimes. But imagine if you care for it. Imagine saying, I'm not going to fight anymore. Thank you for being a friend. You're welcome in my body. Thank you for visiting. Okay, excuse me. Thank you for visiting me. And it's amazing how many stories I know. If people have told me personally they should be dead, and I go see the doctor, the oncologist, and the oncologist says, I have to do that scan again. Something wrong with the machine. They ever say that to you? Yes. There's nothing wrong with these machines. They're well maintained. What's wrong is with people's theories. Excuse me. And they do the scan again and say, look, it's really clear. What have you been doing? Being meditating, being kind. That's what overcomes these things. I've seen that so many times. That's why I love sharing these amazing stories. People do the scans and the doctor thinks there's something wrong with the machine. There's nothing wrong with the machine. Because they can't understand exactly how this works, but it does. And anyway, so this is what letting go is. It's the type of kindness. It's where those two come together. That's why, even recently over in London, I was making a lot of teaching people that kindness is letting things be. And I say this, it's not just in things like diseases like cancers, even with your wife or your husband if you're married. Please never try to cure your husband of his bad behavior. Don't cure him. Care for him. I'm saying that here because most of the people here are ladies. But if you're a husband, don't try and cure your wife. She just gets worse. Care for her. And if you care more, it's amazing just how people lose their fears, have more understanding. And what you really wanted, which you called curing, is achieved by caring. You used to teach that in prisons. In prisons were very rough places. But nevertheless, I said, how about trying to do some more caring to the prison officers who really have all the power and use that power to really intimidate you and punish you. And I remember this one prisoner said, look, Ajahn Brahm, we really respect you inside prison, but prison is not like living in a monastery. You've got to defend yourself, you've got to be tough. Otherwise you get discriminated against and hurt and beaten up. This is real. You've got to be tough. No. So I had a challenge. So one of these prisoners said, well look, let's give this a test. And this prisoner, he was a very wise, a smart person, highly educated. I still remember him. Nick, his name was. And like many people, his first name is Nicholas, were Greek. We're not this Nicholas, in white in the back. This is another Nick. And anyway, his job, because he was smart, was actually to serve tea and coffee and whatever else the prison officers needed. And he told me, he said, look, I'm not a bad guy. I was short of cash and it was drug dealing. That's why he was put in jail. And I said, well, you're not an evil guy, but how about whenever you get some tea or coffee for these prison officers, why not do your very best brew of coffee or tea? Find out what they really, really like. And then if they want like a sandwich or a biscuit or something, find out what they like. And he said, no, you can't. They don't even talk to you. You don't need to get their word. Just see what biscuit is really eaten fast. Do some research just by seeing what's happening with him. And so after a while he said, yeah, he found out, what type of coffee he really liked because he drank it very quickly, and what type of biscuit or sandwich he liked. But he said he never even acknowledges my existence. I put a cup of tea down, nice and hot, what I think he likes. Here you are, so I hope you like it. Didn't respond at all for weeks. But then one day, I always remember this. He was very excited and he said, something happened. What happened? Well, I gave him this cup of coffee, which I thought he might like, and then sort of a sandwich or something. And then I said, "Here you are, I hope you like this sandwich, sir." And he said, And honestly, the prisoner said, "You wouldn't believe this, Ajahn Brahm." Went all around this prison and also on the prison grapevine to other prisons in Western Australia. That was unprecedented. So this prison officer acknowledged this prisoner by just saying, And I said to him, "Look, this is a crack in the damn wall. You just keep laying it on, all your kindness." And he did, and for about 2 or 3 more weeks, still just, have a nice cup of coffee, so have a nice sandwich. There's some nice biscuits we've managed to get. Hope you like them. And then one day, he gave him some tea or something which he really liked, and some biscuits. And the prison officer turned around, looked him in the eye and said, "Thank you." You may think that's a small thing, but that was like mega news spread around the prison grapevine in Western Australia. That was kind of unprecedented. And he said to me, "Ajahn Brahm, you won." Or rather, loving kindness won. It's amazing how powerful that can be, how it softens everything, and how it makes you a great winner. How you can even turn the most notoriously evil prison officer into a really nice fellow. And I love that story, because it was unexpected. I remember just after Nick sort of was released from jail, he was trying to help other prisoners when they get released find work and find a place, because it's tough. If you've been in jail for a couple of years, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 years, it's tough getting a place to start your life over again. And he was helping them. I remember seeing him. Next time I saw him in Perth Airport, I was sitting down waiting for another month to arrive, and I felt this hand on my shoulder. I turned around, it was Nick. And Nick smiled at me and said, "Ajahn Brahm, how are you? It's me, Nick, from prison." And he said, "I'm still meditating every day, I'm still meditating every day." And that was the nicest gift he could give to me, to see that he was out there in the world, happy, doing well for himself, but still meditating every day. He saw how powerful it was. So now's the most important time. Most important thing to do is, what's the most important thing to care, otherwise called letting go, relaxing to the max. And then the most important meditation object is the one right in front of you. And once you keep that in mind, all the other types of meditation become part of that, an expression of that. So, and a good example, have you ever done any Zen meditation before? Zen meditation? I never liked Zen meditation when I first saw it. You know why? Because they use this big stick, and if you got sleepy, whack. Oh, that was really scary. I remember had a documentary of that, and I got permission to show that little documentary to my class in the prison. And when I showed that documentary and showed the Zen master hitting the disciple on the back with a stick, those prisoners, I said, "Oh, if you tried that on me, Ajahn Brahm, you'd be dead." They were really tough, but they were really good fun. I said, "Oh, I'd never do that to you, good job." But then, of course, one day, that as a student, before I became a monk, I went to a Zen retreat, because there was hardly any retreats to go to when I was young. Buddhism was just starting out in the UK. They didn't have retreat centres. So anyway, I decided to go on a Zen retreat for one weekend. And when I went there, what do we do? And they said, when you get up in the morning, you go to the Zendo, which was like the meditation hall. And it was like benches on either side of this narrow hall, and you sit on one of the seats on those benches, and you stare at the wall. Meditate with your eyes open, and just look at the wall. And then what do? That's it. That's all the information I was given. And I like that, because this is where you're discovering, you're exploring. And I know that I was sleepy the first day when I was sitting there, but I was always blessed with good fortune, because the man sitting next to me was more sleepy. So he got hit with a Zen stick first, and after that, I wasn't sleepy at all. It's a ridiculous thing to do. It's not Buddhist at all. And then, but I remember, people said it doesn't hurt. I said, it sounded like it hurt. But anyway, so I never got hit with a Zen stick, thank goodness. And so I had my eyes open looking at the wall, which was an old barn in the north of England. It was like a whitewashed wall. No window or anything, just plain colour. Not very interesting. Until I was looking at that wall, and then it vanished. Now that really was cool. The wall there, your eyes open, you're not on any drugs or any sort of medication, and it totally vanishes. Nothing there. What? Did I what? Go through the wall. No, I sometimes can go up the wall. No, I didn't go through the wall, because I was fascinated. It was vanished. Why? And that was the main thing I got from that retreat. To understand why that was meant to happen, and why it did happen, and how important an insight that was to understand meditation deeper. Even now, you can see me. Good sight. Now, close your eyes. When you first close your eyes, you may be able to see the inside of your eyelashes, or your eyelids. You see the inside of your eyelids for a short while, very short usually, and after a few seconds, you can't see anything at all. Your sense of sight has shut down. You can open your eyes again now. That's just the way the brain works. The brain is only wired to see things which change. If it's constant, just as the inside of your eyelashes, and you're still enough, you'd be able to see sight turn off. Now, it was unusual to see your sight turn off when you're watching a blank wall, a real wall only a few feet in front of you. But it happens. If you just looked at any wall, these walls are a little bit too interesting, but a boring white wall, after a while, the wall vanishes. The sense of sight hasn't been stimulated enough, so it turns off. Just the same way the sense of sight, the sense of seeing. No, that's the same. The sense of hearing. Can you hear the aircon? How long for? A few minutes, you won't be able to hear it at all. Not just because it's been turned off. It becomes what's called ambient sound. It's not important. So the brain doesn't pay any attention to it. It turns off. That's what happened with sight. It turns off. And then I understood why we have all these meditations on things like the breathing, things like loving kindness, to allow the body to turn off. Why do you sit on cushions or chairs and get yourself comfortable? Because the task is that you sit there long enough and you're comfortable that the brain doesn't register any sensations in your body anymore. Nothing really important's going on in there. So your whole body can relax, disappear. And that is so cool. Why do you ask people not to talk on a retreat, have noble silence? It's not just talking. If they're in this room here and they want to come in or go to the toilet or something, please don't have any plastic bags which actually make a noise when you open them. You don't have any zips which you have to open and close because that's noisy. Or any beads, click, 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 click. Because when there's no change of sound, you can still be in a noisy place, even next to traffic, but after a while you can't hear it, because it's like ambient. It's just a constant sound. Doesn't go up, doesn't go down. That's where it can vanish. And imagine if your bodily feelings vanish, if your smell, taste, hearing and sight just turn off, what's left? Your mind. And this is part of the underlying importance of meditation. These 5 external senses, seeing, hearing, smelling, taste and touch, because they're kind of constant, they're not challenged, you're safe. After a while they disappear. I love that when once I was teaching in Singapore, in Kong Meng San Temple, and it was like just an intro to meditation for these executives. I only had half an hour. And so we started, and the question time afterwards, a couple of these execs, they said, "What are you teaching us? This is really scary. I was sitting there and my hands vanished." Well done. You mean they're supposed to vanish? Yeah. The sense of touch is disappearing. I saw someone had a book whose title I recognize, The Art of Disappearing. You got it here? Oh, you got it there. The Art of Disappearing. Where did that title come from? Because that's describing what meditation does. Things vanish. You can't feel your body. You can't sort of hear sounds. Some people have tinnitus, and that ringing in the ear. Remember this one guy, Peter, he only passed away recently, but he used to come here. It was the only place where the tinnitus could disappear. He said it was amazing, didn't know why, but he knew how. And he just loved coming here to get some quietness, but also to know it was possible. So many of these, and the thoughts disappear. Imagine that happens. All those wandering thoughts, those worried thoughts, the anxiety, the fear, always thinking you have to plan this and plan that. Imagine that disappeared this afternoon. What would you do? You'd freak out. I go, Brahm, my thinking disappeared. What's happening? It's a beautiful gift. Why are people afraid of freedom? Real freedom. I always say, just like when you leave prison, you're free for the first time, that's scary. After a few years in jail, you know how to cope inside a prison. You're not really sure how to behave out in freedom. It's the same as meditation. What you're used to. Many of you are used to the wandering mind, thinking or falling asleep. You're so used to it, and something else happens. It's like you're really peaceful and still and enjoying yourself immensely, having a lot of piti sukha happiness. It scares some people. I said, well, what's going on? What's going on? I'm happy. Ah! That's what we're here for happiness. But isn't it about suffering, Ajahn Brahm? It's to let go of suffering, not to indulge in it. That's also one of the reasons why that I'm going to read out, probably not this afternoon or tomorrow or sometime, the Pasadika Sutta is one of my favourite suttas, where it shows, even the Buddha saying, it's not just you're allowed to enjoy meditation, you're supposed to enjoy the meditation. Not just to enjoy it, big time enjoy. The highest happiness of your life. Big joy and happiness. And that's why sometimes I look at people's face after the meditation. And sometimes in the interview they say, I had a really lovely meditation. I got into a jhana. I don't listen to you. I look at your face. If you just had a jhana, it's just like, you've won the lottery. That's how happy you look. You just fallen. I still remember this one. This lady, she's a very smart lady, and over in Malaysia, she'd been meditating a lot, and she was really trying to go for it. She was very kind, kept her precepts, and she went on one of my retreats, and she was really trying hard. And then at the last meditation, she told me she's getting nowhere. No progress, just where she was before, that's as far as she got. And she was really disappointed. Oh, never mind, you gave it a try. And then you know what happened? Her plane back to her destination was like an hour late or something. So she said, I got another hour. And this is what she said, another hour to kill. You shouldn't say that as a Buddhist. You don't kill time, you don't kill anything. Another hour to kill, she said. So she went into the hall and just meditated. But without trying to get anywhere, without trying to do anything, just killing time. And then after an hour, she came out, and I was just having a drink of orange juice or apple juice or something, just waiting for my taxi to take me to the airport to bring me back to Perth. And I'll never forget this. I was sitting on a chair, and she was on the ground. She had her hand up looking at me, and she said, oh, 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 oh. Oh, oh, I'm lost. She got her first deep meditation. And to me, obviously being a monk and having no kids, but it was like, I imagined that's what it'd be like, if you had kids and you had a daughter and she fell in love for the first time. Oh, Daddy, oh, he's so wonderful. She was just... the afterglow was intense. And she was so happy. And I can never forget that. I don't know how else you can describe it, because that's never happened to me having kids. But when somebody's so happy, they just had their first deep meditation. That's what it's like. And that's why if any of you get one of these jhanas and you come out to see me, I got a standard now. If you just go up and say, Ajahn Brahm, I got a jhana just now. No way. Except the afterglow of the happiness emotion. Oh, oh, oh. But that's more like it. And of course that makes me happy too. The happiness is contagious. It's something we call mudito. Mudito is a sympathetic joy. When you experience such intense joy, it's a shame we can't tell other people. And not every one of you will just, oh, well done, it actually works. And it does work. So anyway, that's when things vanish. They're supposed to vanish. It's like you're going on a journey and you look in your backpack, and so much of that stuff you don't need anymore. So you take it out and throw it out. And you can walk along so light, so free. Imagine what that would be like. In your whole life, you don't need very much. That's why you see me arriving in Hong Kong with my baggage. You see me arriving in Indonesia, in Medan the last time, with all my baggage, my international luggage. I haven't got it here at the moment, but I do have my suitcase in my hut in the teacher's cottage. You've seen my suitcase before? You haven't? Yes, you have. You didn't recognize it. It's my little monk's bag, little brown thing. That's how light you can travel. And a lot of times, people at Perth Airport, of course, it makes you stand out. I travel a lot, and that's my baggage. And sometimes some of them ask me, so you've got to pick up your baggage first, before you actually come through the customs. And then other people, they know me. And the Perth, I said, that is his baggage, that's all he's got. And it's wonderful to be able to do that. To travel so light. Why? Don't need anything. In fact, I always carry too much. An extra robe or something in case one gets dirty, but usually don't need that. And so it's lovely being light and free. That's what meditation is like. You're carrying very little in your meditation. You're worried about your kids or your family or your business. If you're really concerned about these things which are important to you, then don't even think about them during the meditation. They become so much better. One last story before I finish off. It's 3 minutes to 9. This is one lady over here in Perth. She said she always wanted to come to the meditation classes. She enjoyed meditation. She wanted to learn more and be able to be in a class where she could ask questions. But she had 2 children. And every time she wanted to go to a meditation, even in town, even at home, every time she wanted to do some meditation, her 2 children would disturb her. But not just disturbing her by being noisy. She had long hair, and one of them would climb up and pull her hair. The other one would shout into her ear, "Mummy, I need to go poo." And every time they always disturbed her. And she asked my advice. I said, look, your kids are old enough, they can go poo by themselves. So you just sit there. And they pull your hair, they don't do it a few times, and they get bored with it. So that's what she did. She sat, put her meditation cushion out in the front room, in the lounge room, and started meditating. And of course, the usual trying to disturb Mummy started, pulling her hair. I need to go toilet. And she didn't respond. She stayed perfectly still. And then they pulled her hair harder. And then the kids are very innovative. And I said, you should praise your children for this. Because then they decided, this isn't working, so let's go to the next level. Mummy, Frank has got the kitchen knife out, the sharp one. Mummy, Julie has turned on the gas on the stove. And of course you thought, wow, if you turn on the gas in the stove, it may just sort of asphyxiate everybody, or somebody might sort of light a match and the whole house might blow up. They've got a kitchen knife, they're very sharp, they'll cut themselves. Maybe when she comes out of meditation, she's got a son with no arms. That's how she started thinking at first. But she said, no. She trusted me when I said, just leave it alone. And so after a while, the kids went quiet. She thought maybe they have gassed themselves. Maybe they have sort of killed each other. But at least it's quiet. I think those of you who have children, you know what I mean. You know, you're worried about them, but then, you know, they had just that little memory of what I said, meant she was just quiet, and she stopped thinking about them. And after the half an hour of meditation was over, you know, she had a little timer there, and then she opened her eyes. The first thing she wanted to do was to notice if her children were still alive and the house was still there. And there was no smell of gas, so that wasn't a problem. And she looked in the corner of the room, and her two children were playing quietly together. And I said, well done. You know, you've won your meditation time from now on. Don't worry. You know, the kids, you know, they just want their mummy. And now they know that for half an hour when mummy sits on her cushion, she's unavailable to them. And it's also, she said, now sometimes now when I want to go to meditation class, I tell my kids, say, Mummy, please go. We'll behave. And they always do. And said, why should I go to the meditation class? Remember, she told me once, she came home from work, and the kids said, Mummy, you should go to meditation class. Never underestimate the wisdom of your kids. Why should I go to meditation class? Because you're a much nicer mummy when you come back from meditation class. The kids send her there. I love stories like that. It has a powerful effect on you, and you're always really safe. And people understand how safe it is. So that's why we do meditation. This is how we do it. Now, the most important time, the experience you're having right now, most important in the whole world. The only thing to do is to be kind. You will find that if it's unpleasant to begin with, because of the kindness, be patient, and it gets uncommonly comfortable and enjoyable. And a few times, you'll be just in the right space. Get really delicious. But when it does get really enjoyable, please, don't interfere with it. It's supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen, you get very, very, very blissed out. And I don't want you to miss out on that. It's totally safe. And it's totally enjoyable. That's where you get great insights from. And really good health. Thank you for listening. Sadhu. Excellent. Of course, there's more to come on meditation. That's just the opener. Has anyone got a question to ask before we begin? Because I do not have to rush to the interviews. We're going to do photos. Yeah. Correct?
Yeah.
Good. Is there any question on what I've just been saying? A quick one, if there's anything which is... Oh yes, also good. Thank you. There's some questions tonight. Okay, off you go. You can organise yourself. Which one? The northern or the southern? They're all big, the same size. Yeah, okay.
If I say north side or south side, you'll get confused too.
Yeah.
Because we're women.
No. You choose which is the nicest side to take a photograph. And then we'll go there. Is the stonework clean? It should be clean after all that rain. It should be clean enough to sit on. It's just as long as you're not too cold.
I'll find out.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. Uh-oh.
Ajahn Visalo just messaged me last night.
Yeah,
Asked me
but
whether he remember you